Good evening. My name is Julie Hale. I'm one of the counselors at the Austin High School. There's 4 of us. We break things down by alphabet, so I have the letters LE through REH. I'm the only one here tonight. There's students, some of our counselors have other things going on, but just to share, Sarah Schmidt has last names A through E. Lynn Keenan has last names F through LA. And then Mr. Hoffa, Bryce Hoffa, has REI to Z. So we are here, we split the students alphabetically and work with them 9 through 12. We're very glad to have you here tonight. This is our second in-person meeting since kind of post-COVID, I guess. So it's nice to see as many of you who are here. It's also being recorded, so if you hear of any families that maybe couldn't make it or wondering, it will be attached. I believe it's a YouTube channel that we have. But we have Brittany Espy here. She's going to talk about the post-secondary enrollment option. She is the PSEO advisor out at Riverland. She is a wonderful wealth of resources and knowledge for us, so I guess I will defer to her at the very end. There's a couple questions or just things I'll talk about how we do things at the high school. I think we've got a really good system in place for having our students getting enrolled for the PSEO, so we'll talk a little bit about that.
Thank you. Yeah, so as she says, I'm Brittany Espy, PSEO and Accessibility Services Advisor over at Riverland. Been in this position going on 3 years now. So as she said, we've got really good relations going between Austin and Riverland, making sure that we are getting all of your questions answered. We're getting you on the right track, making sure getting done high school graduation stuff along with the benefit of getting some college credit. So what my presentation will be on today is what is PSEO, the differences between PSEO and concurrent, some specific PSEO information needed for how it is done at Riverland, and then we'll go into a few slides as to things to consider while you are deciding if you want to do PSEO or not. And then we'll go into a little bit more specifics of Austin High and how the process would work for you guys going forward, and then connecting at the end too. If there's any questions, just keep them till the end. We'll get them all answered then, and then go from there. All right. All right, so to start, what is PSEO? So PSEO is a state funded program that allows high school and homeschool students, mainly juniors and seniors, the opportunity to take classes and receive both high school and college credit for those classes. In addition to juniors and seniors, we have seen a lot more sophomores meet the eligibility requirements to start participating in PSEO early, and so that also is an option. The state program covers the tuition, fees, and required book costs for any classes that you were to take at Riverland to count back in, again, for PSEO dual credit. The main things there is the required books and materials for the classes. So if anyone were to take Riverland's CNA course, the books and everything that go with the course that are required for the course would be covered under PSEO. However, the scrubs that you are required to wear for the course are not covered by PSEO. So a little few things like that, and that's the different stuff that I'll talk to you about when we meet, if this is what you decide to do, to go over some options if there's any extra fees that might happen to be in your wheelhouse over instead of the MDE PSEO part. So the PSEO is kind of the overarching umbrella of the dual enrollment area. Part of that is the concurrent, which is the classes that you can take at the high school, taught by high school faculty for college credit. The PSEO aspect is classes that are taught at Riverland, and this could be Zoom or online in addition to the traditional in-person classes that are taught by Riverland faculty that you get dual credit for. And so those are the main differences when looking at how you want to get your college or your dual credit for high school and college. Do Do you still want to stay at the high school and be taught by high school faculty? Do you want to try going to Riverland and being taught by Riverland faculty, is kind of your main just starting point differences on those two aspects. In addition, concurrent is actually open to 9th through 12th graders, whereas PSEO is just 10th through 12th. And the sophomores for PSEO also have a few more restrictions, which I'll get to in just a few more slides. As far as the concurrent side goes, you are mainly working with your high school counselor on that. Everything from determining class selection, your eligibility, how it fits into your schedule, the registration for that course, all that good stuff for concurrent is with your high school counselor. And usually I do not see you if that is the route that you choose to go. PSEO, on the other hand, is where you will need to work more closely with your counselor and myself to get registered for your classes. So you'd still work with your high school counselor to determine eligibility, fit, potential class options that you could take, or just in general high school graduation requirements. And then from there, you work with me to get registered, set up your course schedule, and all that kind of good stuff with that. So again, main differences: concurrent stays at the high school and you still receive college credit. PSEO, you come to Riverland, whether it's Zoom, online, or in-person classes, and work with me for the registration process. Some similarities between the two are a little what I've kind of discussed, but meeting with your high school counselor, no matter what you're going to do, either way, you work with your high school counselor to determine eligibility and different ways to become eligible. All starts with connecting and meeting with your high school counselor. From there, no matter what you do, you still have to apply to Riverland, be accepted to Riverland, which includes our online application, which is free to fill out and submit, and then a updated copy of your high school transcript. After that would be the assessment scores, which this coming fall does look a little different, and I'll get into that as well. But if you have any assessment scores already on file, we ask that you send those as well. So that could be MCA reading scores from 10th grade, MCA reading scores from 8th grade if you're a 10th grader, different things like that, AccuPlacer, ACT, depending on what grade you're in, if you've taken those yet. And the AccuPlacer is something too that if you don't have any of those scores and you need to take, and you want to take an assessment to try to get into a specific class, AccuPlacer through the high school or Riverland is going to be your best bet there. So again, most of that will be determined with your counselor, but I'm also there to help determine what you actually need based on the classes that you decide that you want to take. Both options, you register for classes at Riverland. It's just who you register with is the difference there. And then no matter what, you're going to stay in communication with the high school and with Riverland to make sure that everyone's on the same page, we're not missing anything, all that good stuff, because communication is key to be successful with school. That is a very big plug-in that I always put in all my presentations. You need to make sure that you stay in communication with your instructors, with your counselor, and with me as your advisor. So going over eligibility requirements, depending on if you're looking more so concurrent or PSEO, a little different here. Again, concurrent, you're going to work with your high school counselor. You can come on in. And then you'll determine eligibility with them along with Riverland's registration department. As far as PSEO is concerned, there's a bit more details depending on the grade that you're in. But usually you have to have a certain either class rank or GPA or percentile on a nationally standardized test, again like an MCA, ACT, something like that, in order to just initially meet PSEO eligibility. The main thing with this is understanding that PSEO eligibility is separate from course eligibility for PSEO. I say that because now Riverland has entered a pilot program in which standalone high school GPA is an option for course placement, but that has nothing to do with actual eligibility to just be a PSEO student. So those are two separate things, And it's something that myself and your high school counselor will work very closely with to make sure that you are meeting all needed requirements to do these options. So that's what I have here with the standalone GPA options. It's that pilot program that some mid-state schools are doing, and this is only through fall of 2023. That's the year we're in, yeah. And so it makes it, you know, a little tricky just kind of determining fall and spring, but that's again what we work together on here. But as far as PSEO eligibility, just to participate in the program, these are the requirements that you're looking at. These are all also on our website that you'll be able to go to at any time to look over and also to talk over with your counselor. This is a bunch of assessment jargon that usually does not make a lot of sense right now until you actually get into looking at potential courses that you want to take or start actually taking any of these assessment tests. So this is more so just kind of a placement holder to understand what you may need to take certain types of classes as a PSEO or concurrent student. And so again, this is also all found on the website. When we meet to go over classes, we look at this information as well. Something that Riverland started this last year, which actually worked out really well, was PSEO paperwork deadlines. And so MDE, the Minnesota Department of Ed, has their own paperwork deadline of May 30th. What this means is that any high school student that is wanting to participate in PSEO for the next calendar academic year, they are required to fill out what is called the Notice of Student Registration Form, or the NOSR form, and that is filled out by student, parent, guardian, and high school counselor, and then Riverland as well, indicating to the Minnesota Department of Ed that you are declaring that you are interested in PSEO for next school year. Their deadline is May 30th, and the reason for that is to give the high schools enough time to create schedules for the next year with knowing how many students might be doing PSEO or concurrent and vice versa. So the main deadline for getting your PSEO paperwork in is May 30th. In addition, this helps because it's before summer break, right? Yes, before summer break starts. And so then you actually have access to your high school counselors to talk with them about this option and get the paperwork filled out. I cannot let you register for any classes if this paperwork is not filled out. So that is why this May 30th deadline is very important, because again, you'll have ample access to your high school counselors between now and then to talk it over, decide if it's an option for you, and to fill it out. Just because you fill this paperwork out and submit it to Riverland does not mean you are tied into taking PSEO classes next year. This is just, again, to let us know that you and the school have given permission for you to participate in PSEO. It is not a binding contract, if you will. MDE also allows for this paperwork to be turned in after May 30th as long as you receive high school permission and still meet all the eligibility requirements. So that is why we have technically two deadlines, a priority deadline and a final deadline for each semester. So fall and spring are listed up there. And again, what this paperwork deadline is just specific to paperwork. So making sure you've applied to Riverland, we have your high school transcript, we have the NOSR form, and a student planning guide, which is attached to the NOSR form. We need all of that stuff by May 30th, no later than June 30th, in order to make sure that we can get you into the classes that you are wanting to take. That said, you are still technically able to turn in the paperwork all the way up until the start of a semester. The main difference here is if you turn it in after the June 30th or November 30th deadline, is I cannot guarantee you a one-on-one appointment with me, because I'm usually booked out a few months at that point, and so you would have to attend a group registration session that is held in August for fall or January for spring. So essentially Missing these paperwork deadlines means you cannot register until 2 weeks before the semester starts. So I can't guarantee classes, I can't guarantee the specifics that you're wanting, essentially. So very important, again, just to get this paperwork in. Even if you're just thinking about it, you have all summer to decide, essentially, if you really want to do this or not, and we can register you all the way through the start of this semester. And I send out a lot of reminders about this as we go throughout the year too, so, but if any questions on this, again, just let me know at the end. This is a kind of a new slide for this coming year. Riverland has implemented some programs and courses that are no longer offered to PSEO students, and this really is just kind of following what many other the mid-state schools are doing, having to do, and so this covers farm business management courses, which usually we don't have PSEO students in anyways. Supervisory management courses are, the reason for that one is because that program is mainly for people who already have full-time jobs, have been in the workforce, and are just taking one class at a time for about 4 weeks, essentially. So it's not geared towards high school students. And then the truck driving course and program and these 3 courses at the end are courses that require additional costs outside of tuition fees and required books. So for example, the C-Pro 1000 class is an introductory computer professional program, and you essentially build a computer in that class, and then you get charged an extra $1,200 to keep that computer. So with that and all of these other programs, technically speaking, you are allowed to still take truck driving in those classes as a high school student, but it will be completely out-of-pocket cost to you. So that's just kind of the main difference there. So if you had any interest in anything that you see up here, still talk to your counselors. You can still talk to me. I can still help with registration and all that, and I'll just give you more of the details as to what is required for those courses and the extra costs associated with them. So if you are still interested with all this information for PSEO, some other things to keep in mind is the academic expectations once you are enrolled in courses. At the college level, we have what is called student progress, basically, so making sure that a student is in good academic standing. And what this means is that you have a cumulative overall GPA of 2.0 or higher and a completion rate of 67% or higher. A completion rate is how many credits you've completed versus how many credits you've attempted. So if you end up having to withdraw from a course or receive an F in a course, that is when that will negatively impact your completion rate along with your GPA. And so this is all stuff, again, that we can, if this time comes, that we would get into a little bit more detail. But essentially, just know that your academic standing will still follow you outside of high school, because these are college classes. This is your college records, your college transcript. If you decide to go on to a different 2-year or 4-year or whatever down the road, everything, your GPA and completion rate are going to follow you into that college. So we just want you to be prepared and make sure you're making the smart choices of how many credits to take, the type of classes to take, making sure we are all setting you up for success in these classes. If a student were to go below the GPA and or the completion rate in any given semester, that automatically puts you on academic warning. A secondary semester puts you on suspension. Once you're suspended, you need to go through an appeal process in order to get back or to continue taking classes. And as a PSEO student, not only do you have to go through the appeal process at Riverland, but you still need to get approval from your high school to see if you're still allowed to continue with PSEO or not. Because even though you're going for college credits, the main goal is to still get you to graduate high school successfully. So if that is impacted in any way, shape, or form, we have to do what's going to be best for you to graduate high school. And so, again, if this is something that we have to talk about at any point, you and I will have that conversation together, but just something to keep in mind because this will follow you throughout your college journey, basically. So this is a list of some advantages of PSEO, but essentially this really just kind of comes down to you as a student, what your goals are, what you are ready and think you're prepared for, and just kind of getting your toes wet, essentially, to see how college will go for you. Maybe you want to check out do some career exploration with different subjects at Riverland for PSEO to kind of see maybe what you want to do. Maybe you want to get a jump start on a program that you already know you want to complete. Whatever it might be, this is the time to just, essentially try it out because you're going to have the most support system now. You have your high school, whoever your support system is at home, us at Riverland. All of us are there to make sure that you are successful and that we set you up to do the best you can. So overall, these advantages, some of them might apply to you, some of them might not. Other things to note too is even if you participate in PSEO, you are still eligible to participate in sports and activities and anything like that you might already be in at the high school. The only thing is that you are not able to participate in college level athletics, as you do need to have graduated high school for that. But you're able to participate in student activities at Riverland, student activities at the high school, sports at the high school, and whatever other activities you have going on. So we still make sure that we try, get it all to fit within your schedule. And again, working together with all of your support systems in place to make sure that you're not overdoing it and you're still going to be successful in whatever you decide to do, concurrent, PSEO, or none of it. So some things to consider. These are just questions to kind of ask yourself. Go over maybe with your support system, with your high school counselor, maybe with a friend who has already started PSEO or has done this before, or a sibling. What option is in your best interest? Just because PSEO is a good option for your best friend doesn't mean it's a good option for you. So making sure that you really look in and see, is this what's going to benefit me the most? Are you independent and self-motivated? This is a really, really big one, especially after the pandemic. Being self-motivated and independent and making sure that you are still going to go to your classes, you are still going to meet your course deadlines, and you're going to do what you can to pass your class is a really main aspect and question to ask yourself before jumping into the PSEO boat. Another main question that we get a lot with conversation with students is, are you doing this for you or for your parents? This can be kind of a hard one to decipher, but again, this is really making sure that it's something that you are wanting, that you are ready for, and think that you can be successful in. What are you gonna have to give up to do this? If you decide to go full-time PSEO or take a few classes, you're giving up some time at the high school. So what does that mean? Maybe you're gonna have to give up an activity or a sport in order to do the classes that you wanna do because of time or whatever that might be. So take a time to think about all of that. In addition to managing your time well. This gets very difficult for PSEO students, especially the first semester, because they are not used to all of the extra time, quote unquote, that you technically get as a college student. I'm gonna get into that a little bit more in the next slide. This last one, I really should be the first one, but can you reach out for help? This one is so huge. A lot of students get to taking PSEO to college and think that they're just supposed to know. They're just supposed to figure it out because they're an adult now. They just have to figure it out. That's not what this is. We're all here, your high school counselors, your instructors, myself, Riverland, your support systems. We're all here to make sure that we can help you be successful. We don't want you to flounder, get stressed out, not do well in your classes. So the main thing here is to make sure that you are willing and able to reach out to your instructor, advisor, counselor, parent, whoever, to be successful as a college student, because you don't know what you don't know, so you just need to ask. And there's literally no harm in asking for anything. So it's just the main thing, make sure that you are willing and able to ask for help when you need it, preferably before, but that's also another skill that we work on. So all that kind of stuff is things to consider. So this part is a little bit more into the, I'm going to say, myths of PSEO or of college life. Attendance is still important. You still have to go to your classes. You still need to read your book assignments and watch or listen to lectures if it's an online class. You still have to do all of that. This is not a scenario which you can, be in the movies and not go to class 4 times out of the week and still pass. So you still need to attend all of your classes, and you still need to be in communication with your instructors if you will be missing a class for some reason, or potentially missing an assignment due date for any reason. The second bullet point here is the quotes I mentioned earlier, if you can handle your increased free time. The reason that we really point this out is because technically speaking, you're depending on how many classes you take, how many credits you take. If you're full-time, you're anywhere from 12 credits to 16 credits usually, so that's about 12 to 16 hours of class time a week, which is a lot less than how often you are in the high school for a full week. However, the rule of thumb when it comes to college classes is for every hour of class you are in, you are expected to give 2 hours back into homework, studying, prepping for classes, all that good stuff. So even though there's free time, it still needs to be managed appropriately to ensure that you get all your coursework done. And that freedom can be a little difficult for students to just understand how to do because it's not anything you've had before. But again, the ability to reach out for help, if anyone's offering help, take it. See what you can do, because like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So for offering help, have suggestions, try it out and see what will work for you to make sure that you're successful. So some main differences here between high school and college. This is another thing that is something to consider when deciding if you want to do concurrent PSEO, anything like that, is the scheduling differences. This can be a challenge, especially if you are doing part-time at the high school and part-time at Riverland, because our academic calendars do not line up. So Riverland semesters usually always start before all high schools get started. Our holiday breaks are different, our spring breaks are different, some of our major holidays are different, so it can be a little difficult scheduling out classes being part-time, which is fine. We do it every year, every semester with students, and we do what we can to get it worked out if that's what you want. Just know, again, this is where it comes into what are you having to give up to do this kind of stuff. In addition, faculty expectations. Part of your rights, your FERPA rights as a PSEO student, is that your PSEO status is actually protected. What that means is your instructors don't just know that you are a PSEO student. So they treat you as any other college student that is taking their course. And so that means they expect adult behavior, communication, grading is really, depending on the course, can just be your 3 exams throughout the semester and no homework, no extra credit options, just tests or just a lab or whatever it might be. Most of the time, no late work is accepted. That doesn't mean that the instructor won't give an option potentially for makeup work, but for the most part, if it's not turned in on time and you did not communicate with them ahead of time that you needed extra time to do that work, you're gonna end up with a 0. Sorry. And then the no excuses for not knowing aspect from faculty. So we know, like I said, you don't know what you don't know, so ask. And that's the main thing here. Stay in communication, ask questions, don't hesitate to reach out to anyone, because then again, the nice thing with PSEO is your high school, the college, your family, your supports, we're all working together to make sure that you are going to be successful and to set you up for this next part of your life journey. Few other things that I've a little bit touched on. So additional class supplies are not covered. So again, such thing as like art supplies, your scrubs for CNA, cosmetology kits that's a different aspect, but a whole other thing. The other aspect is your transportation to Riverland. So if you decide to take in-person classes at Riverland, transportation is up to you. That is not something that the colleges or the post-secondary institutions supply to the high schools and to students, so you do need to make sure that you are able to get to Riverland to your classes on time. There is I can't read that. There is a form that some students can fill out through MDE for help in some transportation costs, kind of like a reimbursement factor. It's an application process. If that is something that sounds, that you might want to look into, just ask me about it. I can get you the form, and then that gets submitted through the school, through MDE. So it's a bit of a long process, so just know it's not an instantaneous thing. But if that is something that you want to talk about, just let me know, and we can go through that process together. So if I haven't completely scared you off with all of this great information, and you still might be interested in PSEO, main next step is connecting with your high school counselor. You want to make sure, one, that you're eligible, two, that this makes sense and is hopefully a good fit for you, and then start working on that paperwork I discussed. Our website is completely updated as of today, just in time. And I sent the email yesterday. So all your high school counselors now have the PSEO paperwork packet for this coming school year. And so if it is something you're interested in, connect with them, ask questions, and like I said, ask everyone. If you know someone who's already doing PSEO, ask them what they like and what they don't like about it. See if you have siblings who've done it, see what they have to say. And also start thinking about, if PSEO is something for you, do you work better with in-person classes? How did online go? What about Zoom or a hybrid of all of that? Because those are now all options thanks to the opportunities from the pandemic. So all of this becomes options for you. And I will say PSEO students have really liked the Zoom options because it means that they can stay at the high school and not come to Riverland necessarily if they don't have a car, don't have their license, aren't comfortable driving, whatever it might be. So there are more options. Like I said, just don't hesitate to ask any questions that you have and can think about from here on to the point of registration and beyond. So after you meet with your counselor, get the paperwork filled out, they will send that to us to get processed, and then from there is a PSEO online orientation that is required to have completed before you register for any classes. So how that works is it is in Brightspace, which is where all of our online classes are held, so you'll get to see that a little bit. And we email it to whatever email you applied to Riverland with. And you'll get all of that information there, and then within that orientation, you'll set up your Riverland email, all that good stuff, and then connect with me to go over advising and registration. Like I said, our website just got updated with everything for next year's requirements, so just riverland.edu/PSEO is going to have all the information that you need. It's, again, a lot of words, a lot of information, so if you just have questions, let me know at any time, or your high school counselor. Any of us will be able to help you with that. And this is my contact information. And so the main email that I use is this pseo@riverland.edu. This goes to me, the PSEO processor, and my supervisor, basically. So it's a team that is on this email to be able to help answer questions, take your paperwork, all that good stuff. So the PSEO email is the one that I ask you to use if you have any questions. And then my direct phone line is up there as well. And just know that I do work all year round, and I don't get summer vacation or anything, but so I'm here all year round. I do also work at all 3 Riverland campuses throughout the week, and also remote a day. So right now, I'm in Austin on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then, but I'm always available for phone or Zoom appointments if you want, or obviously by email as well. So just let me know at any time. Just know that I do travel to all 3 Riverland campuses throughout the week, so I'm not always in the Austin campus. And that is all I have, so I'll have Julie come up. She'll talk about a little bit more specifics for you, next step, that process, and then we'll get into any questions that anyone has.
All right, thank you. Just to share, this time of year, we are starting to do our one-on-one student registration visits. We start with the 9th grade, we move to 10th, 11th, and obviously, hopefully, our 12th graders are graduating. But so what we do is, as part of that process, we talk, most of our PSEO is designed for students going into their junior and senior year. We usually look at that. They look at GPA and their class rank. There have been some new multiple measures, like she mentioned, the MCA or a nationally normed test. So there is some more eligibility that comes that way. But for those of you who are 10th graders, probably some of you have already taken the AccuPlacer test. That gives us an idea as we're moving forward. Is concurrent, are the concurrent classes better? Should I move some more? What did I do, Ryan? Is concurrent better for you, or are the classes offered through Riverland more appropriate? Again, those are kind of based on those scores. But when we meet with the students right now, if we find that they're eligible, we'll say, are you interested? There's a link that we sign up with. That's kind of our go-to. So even though we recently got the paperwork, we have not started touching that yet. We won't probably start touching that until after registration. And then what we do is the students who are interested in taking the classes, PSEO through Riverland via online, Zoom, or in person at Riverland, we will meet with them. We have a packet. We explain, if you're a new student, we have all the steps laid out. We walk them through the paperwork process. We have them bring the paperwork back to us as a new student, just to make sure that everything's in line. We process it with Riverland. We try to be very transparent about all the steps with that. And then when you have a successful, so like in the spring, if you've gotten through it once, then we'll give you the paperwork and you can kind of do that on your own with Brittany. But so that's kind of where things stand for us, is right now we're meeting with students. If you're interested, there's going to be a link that you can sign up for. We will meet with you after our high school registration process. We'll pull students in. We'll walk through the process very thoroughly, explain any, the steps and any questions that they have to help them decide. Like I said, for the most part, what we offer are the required classes are language arts, social studies, and science. Most of our 10th graders, when they're going into their junior year, a lot of them need Algebra 2. That is not offered as a PSEO class, and so a lot of times that's where they might have a mixed schedule where they're going to be here a little bit and doing some of the classes out there. But again, we try to be very thorough in explaining all those opportunities, what classes you must take, what classes are more elective options for you. So that's kind of the next steps that we have going on from here. Okay. Is there any questions out in the audience? I'm going to come down, okay? I feel like, who's that Bob Barker person? Or
Thank you. I'm just wondering if they decide to do just the high school, is that limiting somewhat if you don't do the PSEO through the college or the online?
It is limiting in the aspect of elective credits, probably. No matter what, all your core credits are going to be accomplished whether you stick with concurrent at the high school or do PSEO through Riverland. It would just be if there's any other more exploratory type courses outside of language arts, social studies, sciences, that you might want to take just to kind of see. That would be, as class-wise, would really be the only limitation, is just what is not offered elective-wise for concurrent classes at the high school.
Just to add to that, we have got language arts and social studies that are for the juniors and seniors, depending on where they are math-wise. This is our first year where we're offering some math classes, so it'd be RCC College Algebra and then RCC Pre-Calc. But again, those are some specific things that they have to be through at the high school. At this point in time, we do not have any science classes that are offered. We do have like the elective, we have RCC, like in the welding programs, we've got a couple of really great career and tech programs going on that way. I would say the biggest thing, it's really understanding for us is like, if you're a student who really is engaged in school, athletics, student council, other things like that, I think it's really important to consider that, because when you go to Riverland, you really, even though you still participate, you lose that day-to-day contact. I hear that when I talk to students a lot. The other thing that I think that's so nice is now that we've got the Hormel Foundation Austin Assurance Scholarship, students have the opportunity to have those 2 years paid for by applying for that scholarship. So maybe in the past, before the scholarship, I think PSEO was, a really, it's still a great option, but now that you have the opportunity for the scholarship, I think you can really, take your time and be a student, be a high school student. You can always go on for more school, but, once you get through high school, you kind of can't go back. So I think those are some things that you really have to take in consideration. What I know is that sometimes we have kids who go PSEO, and maturity-wise, if they aren't, like Brittany said, showing up, communicating. We have a lot of students who actually put themselves at risk of not graduating on time because they maybe have some high school behaviors that just, it doesn't cut it at the or at the college level. And the professors are wonderful, but when they look at you, you're coming into my class, I'm treating you like an adult, and you're not a kid. And when you don't have that same, that mindset, I guess, going as a PSEO student, it can end up hurting you quite a bit.
Easy crowd tonight.
All right, well, if there's no further questions, I want to thank you all for coming, joining us tonight. Thank you. Like I said, I just feel blessed as long as I've been a part of the high school. I'm in my 18th year here. We have such a wonderful relationship with Riverland. They're so helpful. They are so accommodating. If you only knew how often they are in our building, between whether it be Brittany or some of the other ones, especially with the scholarship, whether it be financial aid, they are in our building so much to provide support to all our students, regardless of, like financial aid, regardless of whether or not they're going to go to Riverland. Their financial aid officers want to make sure that our students have access to all those opportunities to them. So I can't say enough for what they do for our community and for our students here, so we're really blessed. So again, thank you. If you have any questions, let us know, but have a good evening.